Khamzat Chimaev is one of the most feared prospects in the entire UFC, and some people think it's almost 100% guarantee that he's going to be middleweight champion by the end of the year. But I wouldn't be so sure about that, and we're going to talk about the two possible next fights for him, the DDP or Strickland. And before you go and leave your paragraph long hate comment, just hear me out, okay? Because I think there's more of an argument here than a lot of people think. So, the first matchup I'm talking about is Khamzat versus DDP. I think this is the most likely matchup. I think DDP is probably going to beat Strickland. But first off, Dreykus is a very tough person to ragdoll, and I'm not saying Khamzat couldn't do it, but I'm saying he would probably struggle more, like the same way he struggled a little bit with Usman. Not struggled, but Usman survived the first round. That's what's important. Dreykus has that similar build. He's super strong in there. He's huge. He's buff. He's jacked, and that's super important when it comes to just being able to resist, Hamzat's insane grappling in the first round. And Dreykus is just that guy to have that toughness to survive the first round. Because a lot of this is me talking about if Dreykus or Strickland can survive the first round. Because if they can, I think their chances of winning skyrocket. Like, I think the odds would be like minus 450 as Khamzat as a favorite. But getting into the second round, if it makes it that far, we're going to see a huge switch in the live odds. Probably to Dreykus, maybe to being a pick'em, honestly. That's what I would think, minus 110 for each. And we have to talk about his performance against Whitaker was super impressive. It's super hard to do that to Whitaker, but it was a little bit fluky, right? I think if you have Dreykus in that same situation, I don't think his teeth are just going to break, because it was due to pre-existing injuries. And what he did was super impressive. He was going to get a 10-8 round anyways, right? Just completely dominating him. But all I'm saying is Whitaker was close to surviving. He could have turned his head and been okay. It was a little bit fluky, man. And we have so many unanswered questions about post-round 1 Khamzat, right? Because that's why I wish the fucking Whitaker fight would have made it to the second round so we could see. But we have to go off what we saw last, and what we saw last was the Usman fight, and we saw him get a 10-8 in the first round. But after completely destroying Usman in the first round, you'd assume that he's gonna immediately shoot, just like he did in the first round. But no, he waits until there are 40 seconds left on the clock in the second round to shoot another takedown. And in all the time before that, it was the most low output fight of all time. There's like a few kicks and a few jabs from each guy's, and it's understandable on Usman's behalf because he's afraid of throwing, because if he throws too much he might get taken down. But for Chimaev, why didn't you shoot another takedown, or why didn't you pressure him more? Is your cardio really that bad? And we saw him try to go for a takedown in the beginning of the third round, but he failed. He couldn't do it like the first round. So that does make me think that Chimaev is just ultra dangerous in the first round, but he can't replicate any of that and anything past that, really. And if it's going to be like that for the DDP fight, then all DDP really needs to do is survive the first round, and his path to victory is going to be so much easier, right? And also, we have to keep in mind that Usman was on 2 weeks' notice. Dreykus isn't going to be. And Usman, at that point in his career, he was great, but I wouldn't say he was in his prime, right? His knees are all sorts of fucked up. And Usman on 2 weeks' notice was able to survive the first round with Chimaev. I think a DDP with a full training camp is going to have a very good chance of doing the same thing as well, right? And another thing, Usman got up in the third round. After being taken down, he was almost flattened out completely. He was in a very, very bad situation, and he got up without being against the cage. In the middle of the octagon, he was able to get up from Khamzat. That's insane. Super impressive in the third round on 2 weeks' notice. This gives me a lot of hope for DDP, right? And so for this fight, Dreykus does have that just strength and toughness to make it out of the first round, in my opinion. I think later I give it like a 70% chance that he gets out of the first round. And if he does, I think I would consider him a big favorite if this fight goes to the second round. Because go watch that Usman fight again. There was like no volume at all, or no, barely anything happened in the second round. Everyone was so scared to throw both parties for some reason. I can understand Usman's hesitance, but Hamzat's is a little bit stranger. Yeah, and once again, Dreykus isn't on 2 weeks' notice. And one thing that you guys need to see at around 1 minute 10 seconds left in the second round, it's one of the biggest shots in the fight. Usman hits Khamzat pretty hard with a 1-2 blitz that is eerily similar to what DDP always does, what he did so well against Strickland. It is eerily similar. Just go watch it, and it was one of the biggest shots of the entire fight. You know that DDP saw this, and that gives him a lot of hope. And I think he's going to be able to replicate this, right? But on the other hand, DDP is not technical at all. He has a lot of low IQ moments. Somehow this dude had an undefeated kickboxing record when it seems like he doesn't even know how to throw a punch right. And this could potentially give Hamza an advantage, right? Like against Strickland, we saw DDP throwing spinning back fists and and getting completely out of place, overextending on shots. We've even seen him take himself down before. But DDP isn't stupid, we saw in the Whitaker DDP fight that Dreykus is very good at game planning for certain opponents, and I think he's going to recognize that he can't really have this insanely reckless style because he might get taken down. So I think we're going to see a different version of Dreykus in this fight. Yeah, he often throws crazy and will leave him for a takedown. So, who wins this? That's the question. We need to ask ourselves, can DDP survive the first round? And I said a 70% chance that he can. Just to recap, because Usman did, I think as of right now, DDP is better than Usman. DDP is not on 2 weeks' notice, and he just has that strength and that kind of like that dog just to survive, and I think he can. But it's kind of unanswered. Will Khamzat look the same way he did post round 1 against Usman? That's why I wish the Whitaker fight would have gone to the second round, because we just still don't really know. We still just don't really know. And I said, none of us have any idea, It's possible that Khamzat comes out and is just like this absolute demon in the second round. If he just could work on his cardio, maybe fix his immune system. But we just don't know yet. But I think it's pretty unlikely, because Khamzat, he almost missed weight at UFC 308 against Whitaker. They had to extend the weigh-in time an hour just for him to barely make the weight. And I just don't know if you would do that. I feel like it's because something like that happens. He's had weight issues in the past before. I feel like that's indicative of he's probably going to struggle post round 1. So I'm actually going to pick DDP by KO/TKO to win this fight. And I think that the odds for this fight is going to be like minus 450 for Khamzat. I think that even if you don't agree with me, you have to understand that betting on I don't sports bet, but you have to agree with me that Dreykus is going to be a huge money pick for this fight, right? You just know he's going to be an underdog, but for all the reasons I said, plus, dude has plot armor. He's winning when he shouldn't be, though. I genuinely think that I'm genuinely picking Dreykus for this. You can tell me if I'm wrong. And now, sure, yes, Dreykus does. He has gotten taken down before, but everyone gets taken down by Chimaev, right? That's not the point. The point is, can you survive that first round initial onslaught? And I think it's going to be good enough to survive. And from there, Khamzat's going to be gassed out, not throwing anything. And Dreykus can blitz forward and hit Khamzat with some good shots. And I think he's going to win. But let's look at the next matchup, because we could potentially be getting Khamzat versus Strickland. And I am rooting for DDP to beat Strickland, because DDP versus Khamzat is a much more interesting fight, in my opinion, than this fight. But let's still get into it. So, one thing to keep in mind, Strickland is very hard to hold down, right? DDP was able to get him down a few times, but Strickland got right back up. And I'm not saying Khamzat couldn't hold him down. That's obviously not what I'm saying. But I'm saying Strickland isn't just some dude who's going to fall on the floor. You know, he still has good takedown defense. And he's never been submitted before. Now, obviously, if there's going to be a guy to submit him, it's Khamzat. But he has had good a track record in the past. And this is Strickland's best advantage. Strickland will not tire. He can march you down all day. And that's something that we just don't really know what would happen with Khamzat. How bad, truly, how bad is his gas tank? But Strickland is not a KO threat on the feet, right? DDP can hurt you with some shots. Strickland, it is very rare that he ever gets like a visible reaction. I mean, sure, in the Izzy fight, that was an incredible reaction, but that's a super rare moment from Strickland. It doesn't happen too often. And I really can't see Strickland dropping Khamzat or hitting him hard at all. Let's be real. So Khamzat can shoot a lot of takedowns with a pretty low risk. But Strickland does have a path to victory. But the only thing he can do is survive the first round and then just tire Khamzat out, and then he can get like a standing TKO win. I could see a world where this happens, maybe. By the way, Strickland's also a unit too. If I remember, I'm gonna add a picture of his first fight with Adesanya or DDP. But he was super jacked. He was ripped, and he's not just some dude who is gonna easily be taken down. He's a hard guy to take down as well. And there is a good chance that if he survives, this is the thing, I just don't think Strickland has the best chance of surviving the first round, or not as good as a chance as DDP, right? But if he can, it's super possible. He could tire Khamzat out, have Khamzat going on the back foot the entire time. If you're moving on the back foot, it's going to be harder to get takedowns, and then I could totally see Strickland tiring him out, or just winning all the rest of the rounds. But then again, Khamzat does still get some takedowns. He got a takedown in the third, I'm pretty sure in the third round against Usman, but Usman got back up. That's the thing. Usman got back up. And Strickland might be able to too. Strickland is pretty underrated in the takedown defense department. Just saying. People don't like to hear it, but he is. Another thing, Strickland will throw way more than Usman did. Just jabs and teeps, because they are pretty safe, right? Like, you guys have to understand, the fight with Usman was so afraid to throw, and I get it. But Strickland won't be, because throwing a teep and throwing some jabs aren't going to risk you getting taken down. So if he can survive that first round, I think he can win. So who wins this fight? Can Strickland survive the first round? I give it a 35% chance he can. I don't think he has the same odds as Dricus, and this is just kind of intuition, right? But I just feel like Strickland is an easier guy to finish, an easier guy to ragdoll. I just don't think it's going to be as big. Maybe I'm mistaken, you know. I've heard that Strickland's actually a pretty big dude, but it's just hard for me to imagine, just seeing how buff and jacked Usman and Dricus are, that Strickland is going to have the same success or potential success. His only path to victory is to survive the first round and then tire Khamzat with his pace out. And I think that there's a pretty good chance of him winning if he gets to the second round, because he is a pretty safe striker, and I think he's going to be able to defend the takedowns in the second round, or most of the takedowns in the second round. But I think it's pretty unlikely that he can do all of this. It's a lot of, well, if Strickland can do this, and if Strickland can do that, I think I'd give him a chance of victory. 15% maybe is a little bit harsh. Maybe I'd give him like 20, 25, or not, maybe 15. Maybe 15 is good. But it's just so hard to survive that first round, and I just don't know if Strickland can do it. And even if he can, I think DDP took him down in the second round. DDP did that. I think Khamzat's going to be able to do it too. So I have to pick Khamzat here. But I'd much rather see Dricus versus Strickland. I mean, Dricus versus Khamzat. I think that's such an interesting fight. And I really do think DDP is going to win, and I think it's going to shock a lot of people. I think the Chimaev hype train is going to die really quick. Because what do you do with him after that? After he loses to DDP? Just go back down to fight in what number one contenders match, maybe? Because we've given this guy so much hype for so long. And if Dreykus beats him, it would all come burning down. But Dreykus is such an underrated champion, man. He's so underrated. He's funny, he's good on the mic, and he's winning these fights somehow. It doesn't make sense, but he has plot armor. He is winning these fights. And he's good, man. And if he beats Khamzat, he's the second best middleweight of all time. He is. Because beating a guy like Khamzat is insane. Plus what DDP's already done. Beating Strickland, Whitaker, Izzy. So yeah, I mean, you guys can let me know now, since you watched it. You can write your hate comment if you disagree. But I think Khamzat is a little bit overrated, right? Just go rewatch the fight with Usman, dude. He went to a draw with Usman, essentially. Yeah, sure, he got a 10-8 the first round. But after that, it was a tit-for-tat fight, super even, against old man, not old, whatever. Usman wasn't too old, but against a 2 weeks Usman, not in his prime, with, as Lucas Tracy would say, wobbly cobbly knees, right? And Dreykus is in his prime, is more athletic, more explosive right now. And I think they're going to have a better game plan, right? Because on 2 weeks, they don't have the best game plan. And Usman was just so scared to throw with Chimaev. Strickland won't be scared. And DDP won't be scared. DDP is going to use that blitz, bro. He's going to use that 1-2 blitz. Trust me. Go rewatch the fight with Usman. 1:10 seconds into round 2. And you guys are going to see exactly what I mean about the blitz. Yeah. But agree or disagree, you guys can let me know. And that's about it.